Good afternoon, everybody. It's going to be our Summary of Markets episode 159. As always, we're going to start off with the weekly calendar. Then we're going to talk about ES, NASDAQ, Bitcoin, Ethereum. We're going to move into oil and then close it up with the dollar and the euro. So starting off with the calendar, not much to worry about on Monday, so don't worry about that. But on Tuesday, we do have Powell testifying for the semi-annual monetary report. That's going to be at 10 a.m., so that will be high impact. So definitely watch out for that. We have on Wednesday, non-farm employment change. That's happening at 8:15 a.m., as well as the CAD doing their rate hike. So watch out for that at 10 a.m. That should push the dollar around, as well as Powell testifying again, and the JOLTS job openings all happening at 10 a.m. Another thing to worry about on Wednesday is the 10-year bond auction. The 10-year has been very scary recently. We're going to talk about that later in the video. It's been hovering very close to 4%. So if that pushes it above 4%, it holds above 4%, not looking too good. But we'll talk about that when we move on to the dollar in a little bit. So moving on to Thursday here, we have unemployment happening at 8:30. We have a Fed talk at 10 o'clock, and then we have a 30-year bond auction at 1 p.m. as well. Finally, on Friday, we have some CAD news that will push the dollar around a little bit, but the CAD is not extremely high weight when it comes to the dollar. So nothing to worry about too much. It's not like the euro, but you definitely want to keep an eye on it. We have the average hourly earnings and non-farm and the unemployment rate all coming out at 8:30, and that will be right before the bell. So watch out for that on Friday. All right, moving on to ES here. We're going to get started with the weekly profile as always. So we're going to grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going back to Sunday here. We're going to mark out our value area high, the value area low. Make sure we dash these so we know they're weekly. And then we will finally mark out our POC. And the overall profile was pretty balanced, pretty much a D shape here. We did go for that last little push on Friday, basically just trending up the entire day. But besides Friday, pretty much a perfectly balanced profile. We're going to go ahead and bring back the intraday profiles here, look for any untested value. So we have a couple of untested levels. We have Friday's low. We have Thursday's entire value area. So value area high trading at 71, value area low trading at 25. That should be enough levels to the downside. Let's look for some levels to the upside here. So we have to go back pretty far to look for untested value. We can grab the high of, what is that, February 21st, which would be technically over here. Because they're putting these two profiles together because of the holiday, we can grab the high from back here. There it is. That's going to be 40.89. We have some untested value levels right here because this was a holiday. So this value was not really tested during a cash profile. So we're going to mark these out as potential targets to the upside. And that will be 40.61 and 40.82. And then finally, we're going to grab this day here from February 16th. The profiles get a little weird around the holidays. That's why these profiles right here are kind of messed up, but the levels are about the same. Okay, so we are looking at a lot of support around the 4,000 area. So if we do pull back down, we can see there's a lot of support starting at 4,012. 4,003, and then up to, down to 84 on that weekly POC. So we did build up some pretty strong nodes on the way up on Friday. So this was a very aggressive one-sided move, but they did a good job of building some value. So we had some value here, we had some value here, and then a lot of value right there. This did create some single prints. So on the TPO chart on the market profile, these were single prints. So if it does want to be efficient, it does have to come back down and retest these single prints before really breaking out to the upside. So keep an eye on those. We will mark those out just to watch out for them. That's 40-40. This one is 40-33. And finally, this one is 40-24. So if Monday opens up pretty bullish, we could look for a possible overnight fade down to these levels and then a rebound back into the high. If it doesn't go for the retest and it wants to just break out, look for value holding back above 40.62 and then pushing into 40.82 to 4100. All right, let's update these levels here on NASDAQ, get rid of the tested value levels, and we'll start fresh. So let's grab our weekly profile here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going back to Sunday. We're going to grab the weekly value area high here. The weekly POC. And then finally, the weekly value area low. And hopefully you guys have seen my summary markets many times by now, so you guys know where we are grabbing all these levels. All right, once again, let's look for some untested value. Let's get rid of all the value that has been tested. So we have some untested value down here at 11,836. 11,966, which is on March 2nd. That level there is lining up with the weekly, so we'll leave that alone. That should be enough levels to the downside. Let's go ahead and look for some levels to the upside. And I've already went ahead and marked out a few of these on NASDAQ. So basically the same exact levels. The high from the holiday, which is 12,417, and then the untested value from back on February 16th, which kind of started this entire impulse down. That is the point of origin of this bearish impulse. So 12,539, 12,656, and then 690. So basically the same thing on NASDAQ. We do have a couple of single prints. So if we do want to be efficient, we should come back down and at least retest some of these single prints, which would be around 281 and 238. So same thing with NASDAQ. If we do come down and retest those, we do want to rebound back into the high. So possibly into that 12,417. We don't want to hang out and hold below those single prints. If it holds below the single prints, you're looking for that possible value retrace of last week's profile. And obviously we have a lot of data this week, so that data will determine which direction we're going to hold on the rest of the week. But all right, let's move on to Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin, it's getting a little messy here. We'll update a few of these levels. I think a lot of these have been tested. We can go ahead and get rid of these lower levels here. That high has been tested as well. This low, we'll leave that there. Those have not been tested. That has been as well. Okay, so our chart's a little bit cleaner here. What we do want to watch out for is this little distribution high right here that kind of acted as a low and then a high again. So we want to mark this out kind of from that high to that low there. And that is kind of the level, it's kind of the shoulder level here on the inverse head and shoulders, or sorry, the normal head and shoulders. That is the level that you want to reclaim. So if we can reclaim this 781 and this, what is that, 24.3, that would be pretty bullish into breaking that high, or at least sweeping that high, possibly into 26,000. So keep a close eye on that level. That is the main level you want to flip here. And then for the bears, if we start to lose this point of origin here, you can see the point of origin doji. Let's just mark this as a value line here. This point of origin doji right around 21.8. If we start to lose that, you will be grabbing the liquidity, grabbing the stops below these two levels most likely. So first level would be around 21.4, second level would be around 20.5. So I would lean slightly bullish as long as you can hold on to that point of origin. You could look for that possible bounce back into 24,000. But as soon as that point of origin is starting to be lost, then it's looking pretty bearish into those lower liquidity points. Okay, basically the same thing with Ethereum here. So Ethereum, we have it marked out more as a range because the head and shoulders is not as obvious. You can see the head here is just kind of a deviation on that distribution. It's not really breaking that level and creating that head. So we're just going to say that's a deviation for now. Pulled back into the distribution. You failed the distribution high pretty much beautifully at that 1680 level. And now we are back into the distribution low. So basically the same thing here. We have that point of origin, which lines up pretty much with that range low. So this level right here. And as long as they can maintain that point of origin, you want to lean slightly bullish back into that distribution high. But as soon as that point of origin is lost, they are most likely going to grab this lower liquidity on these lower levels. So we marked out an untested value level around 1441 and 1401. That would most likely be grabbed if we lost that point of origin. And then we have that lower wick right there around 1480. So typically when you have those big wicks like that on Bitcoin or Ethereum, they love to retest at least half of that wick. So it tried to do it there, but it bounced a little early. So most likely we'll retest that wick to see if there actually is buy pressure on that level. All right, moving on to oil here. Oil has been really struggling to break out of this bearish channel, but we have built a pretty clean accumulation range since, what is that, early December all the way to now. So you can say the December high and the December low here is creating that accumulation, and we're kind of stuck inside that range, accumulating out of that bearish channel. So overall, it doesn't look too bad. Let's get rid of this little range here. And we're actually going to get rid of this channel. I think that's finally done its job. And we are going to mark this out as an accumulation here. Now, typically, let's actually mark this out this way here. So typically with my accumulation levels, I like to form the low before the high. So I would like to take this level as the high, but if we're taking this level as the low, then this level has to be the high. Because I like to form the low first, then the high second in an accumulation, and then vice versa for a distribution. Distribution should form the high, then pull back, and then form the low. It's just kind of the way that I do it. It's not really textbook. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. All right, so now we have this accumulation range here. We can see the lower quadrant is being widely respected. It's not getting deep into that lower quadrant before finding buy pressure. So the buyers are quite aggressive here. You can see it's getting closer to the range high than it is the range low. And you're almost putting in higher lows on each test. Not exactly, but almost. You can see from this low to this low, you're putting in a higher low. From this low to this low, you're putting in a higher low. So the buyers are getting a little aggressive here. You are holding back above the middle of the range. So as long as you can maintain above 76, it does look fairly bullish if we can break and hold above that 81. So you've already passed the mid-range, just needs to hold above the high of the range. Then we can look for that little value gap around 85 to 86. We do have to watch out for that 200 EMA coming up at 84 as well. If it fails the range high here, like it did the past, 3 times, you do want to just rinse and repeat the value here. So look for the middle of the range and then look for the low of the range. So your key level to watch is that range high around 81. hold value above that level should be bullish. Fail value above that level should be bearish. All right, last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about the dollar and the euro. So the dollar here is failing the 200 EMA and failing that previous low, which kind of turned into a resistance. So you had support, support, resistance, resistance, and resistance again. So very key level here at 105 quarter, starting to fail, and it looks like we are attempting to lose this uptrend here. So depending on how that data comes out this week, the dollar could get extremely bearish if we lose this local level. So keep an eye on that data. Keep an eye on the Powell speech. If we do start to lose that 104 level, that would be quite bullish for ES. If the data comes out very bullish for the dollar and we start to push this 105 quarter, 105.5, that is bad news for ES, and it most likely will send ES back down into last week's low or very close. All right, last but not least, let's talk about the euro here. So the euro is sitting on a major support. We do have a lot of support around that low, around 105. We have that 200 EMA as well. Same thing with the euro. It looks like it's trying to break this downtrend. You kind of have a little micro accumulation going on right here. With that data coming out this week, if it is bearish for the dollar, that should be bullish for the euro. The key level to watch on the euro would be that support and resistance flip around 106.7. If we can hold back above that level, probably going to grab these highs up here around 108. If the data comes out bearish for the euro, then we're most likely going to grab these lows that have not been tested from back on January 6th and December 7th. Very hard to predict the euro and the dollar without waiting for that data. So definitely wait for that data, see how it reacts, and keep an eye on it. Actually, one more thing before we go. I did want to cover the 10-year yield because we have that bond auction coming on Wednesday. So bond auction on Wednesday, this is starting to push above 4%. So this is kind of where we were struggling back in 2022, back in October, November of 2022. If this yield can hold above 4%, that is typically very bearish for the overall market. So if that bond auction pushes it up and holds it above 4%, then I would be pretty bearish on ES. The correlation was quite strong last week. What's it at now? Let's see. So it's a little bit weaker. It's at 0.7. So it's not as strong as it was. If it gets to like 0.8, 0.9, that is something to really worry about. It's also negative, by the way. So that means if the yield goes up, ES goes down. So if that bond auction comes out very bullish for ES, or sorry, for the 10-year, that will be bearish for ES and vice versa. So that will be at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Keep a close eye on that because this 4% level is extremely key for the 10-year. But all right, guys, that is it for the summary markets. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that like button if you did. It does help a lot on YouTube. And I will be streaming this week, Monday through Friday, 9:30 in the morning. So if you guys want to see the live stream, just come on and stop by around 9:30. I'll see you guys then. Have a good rest of your weekend. Peace out.